Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, JB, your sports guy. Our high school football previews continue on this week. Before we get into our special guest who's joining us today, I have to introduce my co-host. This guy, you can find him at CrescentCitySports.com, the one, the only, George Peppers. What's up, George Peppers?
What's up, Jared? I'm doing just fine, man. Looking forward to tonight's show, and I love the backdrop. Sending subliminal messages. I love it. I love it.
Also, some other co-hosts joining us. You can catch him on CrescentCitySports.com. Also, the one, the only, VK Jones. What's going on, VK?
What's going on, people? We pleasant good evening to everybody. You can like, tag, share this Cash It Out show on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on YouTube and also on Facebook. And for the first time tonight, we are on Instagram Live. So good evening to our new viewers in Instagram. So you cannot miss the Hash It Out show at all. You can catch it anywhere.
That is exactly right. Our special guest for today, he has been on this show before. You can catch him with CenLa Preps. He's going to give us the rundown on the Alexandria area for high school football. The one, the only, Lamar Gafford. Lamar, what's going on?
Man, I am pretty good, man. Seems like y'all rolled out the red carpet here with the Instagram, the YouTube, everything. Yeah, didn't y'all?
I mean, we just trying to extend our brand. That's all we're trying to do. Extend our brand as much as possible. Oh, man, we are.
I love that. I love that.
Definitely. We are grateful that you are here today. We appreciate it. Let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the Alexandria Trojans out of District 25A. It was just a couple years ago. Alexandria was in a championship game against Acadiana and lost by 1 point by going for 2. Ever since then, it's been on a little bit of a downward curve, but will we see a resurgence from the Alexandria Trojans this year in this district that includes defending state runner-ups Ruston, West Monroe, Washita Parish?
I think there's a very good possibility that we could see that there because this year, they're going to break in a new quarterback in Ty Feaster who comes over from Glenbrook, but he had himself a very good season last year at Glenbrook and got them to, I guess, their best season possibly in school history. Now you add him into the 5A into the 5A thing, and I know the learning curve is going to be a little bit different there, but you still have pieces like JT Lindsay at running back. You also have a Miriam Mingo and Jalen Johnson at wide receiver, and then you have a pretty solid defense that they're gonna at least be flying to the ball, especially with a lot of speed, especially in the back half with the secondary and also their linebackers. They have a pretty good chance of doing that. Last year they had a tough loss to Bird. In the regional round in their first time getting into the select side, but they have a possibility, good chance. I know it's a tough thing to go through that Division I because, as y'all know, I mean, the Catholic League is very good out there too. But they got a good shot. I mean, I think they got a good shot of at least making a good run.
What about Pineville? What can you say about them? They're also in that district.
Well, Pineaple's a little young this year. I know they got some pieces of the line here that were pretty good at the JV level and especially at the junior high level. So I know it's gonna take them a little bit of a while just to get to it. It just depends on how much they mature. Jalen Whitty has been getting some chances and also getting some help at the Manning camp the last couple of years. So can we see some of that translation right there? But I still think it's going to be a little bit of a while for them to probably try to catch up there. I think they're probably going to be battling with West Washita in terms of being 5th or 6th in that district. But they're going to be scrappy. They're going to be if they can get some confidence going in their out of conference schedule, I think they got a shot. But I just don't think. I think they could probably sneak into the playoffs, but I just think that they need to get more mature there.
Okay. George Peppers, I pass it to you.
What's up, Lamar? First off, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and our expansive look at the prep scene. I myself used to live in central Louisiana for 12 years. and know a little about the area. And I want to ask you first off about the one team that's kind of sort of carried the mantle a little bit. Many, they've had a pretty tumultuous offseason, losing Jess Curtis, the head coach, the guy that the ringleader that has gotten to numerous championships since the split. Where does many stand in your opinion coming in? Look, they have a deep group there, but it's a new voice. Is there going to be is there to you is there going to be a precipitous fall, or do you think many is a team we need to look out for in the Central Louisiana area?
I think there's still going to be a team to look out for in the area. I mean, I think that they still have the pieces that can make a run. And that's
Hmm.
the good thing. I mean, Tyler Singleton, who just committed to
To
LSU,
LSU. Yep.
that's a big piece there. And then, of course, the running backs that they had, Jeremiah James, and then, of course, Zwaji Carhill as the defensive end. So they have some very good pieces. Now, I can imagine they're probably going to throw the ball a little bit more now under Dylan Barrett.
Yep.
He likes to air it out a little bit, especially when
Hmm.
he was at Grant. He liked to air it out a little bit more. So instead of probably seeing 2 passes, you might see Manny probably throw maybe like upwards to like 10, 15, something like that. But I really think that he has a good chance of possibly making himself a little bit known as far as one of the best young coaches around here. I mean, I know everybody kind of looked at what he did at Grant, but when he took over at Grant, Grant was one of the was at the bottom of as far as our one of our
Hmm.
teams in the area. And then a couple of years ago, he got them to an 8-2 record. Last year, they were just a win away from possibly getting into the playoffs last year. But I think now with the talent pool there, if he can continue this run, I think he may have something going out there.
My next question goes to a team in Bolton, the Bears. They've kind of teased. I mean, they've had a couple of lean years, but they seem to start. They seem to be starting to turn a little bit. So showing some signs of life going forward. Where do you see the Bears as it relates to this season in 2023?
It might be a little there for them because I think last season they had a senior leader. They had a lot of seniors there.
Right.
Jalen Welch, some of those guys there, they were pretty much senior laden. But this year they're now going to have a new voice, Clint Dean. He comes over from Northwood Lena as an assistant coach there.
Hmm.
Then he was also a pretty good junior high coach. But it's just going to be interesting to see what they do there in that case because they got a good kicker, and at least the offensive line seems like they're kind of gelling it together. But it's just now the skill positions that's going to be the big thing there for that.
Surely. The area I lived in was in Avoyles Parish, and I want to really focus on Avoyles, the team that a couple of years ago went to a state semifinal against Manny, lost close, and last year was a little bit of a slide back. Andy Boone has now since moved on, took the job at Lakeview, gets them in a little bit. Tell me about Avoyles, and more so, tell me about Corey Bannister, the new head coach there, and where do you think? I know the Mustangs have lost a good bit, but they got a quarterback that they have touted a little bit coming into this year. Where do you see them? Where do you have the Mustangs as it relates to where they can be in their district, and also in relation to making some semblance of a run?
I'll go start off with the district, and I think they still have the possibility of possibly being the best team in the district. I know the district has changed a whole lot. District 4
Hmm.
2A, where it seems like every team has a new coach except for Oakdale, and I think that they still have at least some type of continuity. Now, the thing about it is they did have Jacob Caruth in there, who came over from North Central for a few months before he took the job over there at Catholic Point Coupe, and then you got Bannister there. So what type of hiccups did they have there? But at least Bannister
Hmm.
knows the style that they had from last season with Boone, and I think I can imagine they're probably going to run the ball a good bit, maybe
Hmm.
throw a little bit more, but I think they're going to try to run the ball a good bit. Um, the Kerryon Sampson is probably going to be the guy that they're going to pretty much their bread and butter. He had a that 2,000-yard season a few years ago.
Yep.
And of course, he's another guy that can really run the ball, but he can also catch the ball pretty well. And I know we're talking about the passing game with the Wolves. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
He can also catch the ball. And he can be a home run threat there as well.
Talk about the other two teams in that parish, Bunkie and Marksville. Marksville had a horrible year last year. Jimmy Hillman left after 1 year. He is now the head coach at Bunkie. And Marksville, I don't remember who their new head coach is. Where do you see those two teams going into this year? And what kind of an improvement or what kind of a jump can they make?
Well, I tell you what about Marksville, Josh Harper, new coach over there. He comes over from Sacred Heart of Ville Platte. This is a
Mhm.
guy that used to play for at Marksville, so of course he's now being the head coach of his alma mater. And the good thing about Marksville is they got some good young pieces. Elijah Murray is a great athlete that they have out there that can. They put him in at quarterback a couple of times. That he was a very solid running back for them, very good defensive back as well for them last season. And so he's a guy that you can put it pretty much anywhere in space, and he can really produce at any point. At any point, I think Marksville has the chance here to at least try to make themselves a little bit better in that district. I still think they got a lot of young pieces that are kind of like still unproven, but they still have a bright future in front of them. Same thing can be said about Bunkie, where same district, you now have Jimmy Hillman making that trek over from Marksville to Bunkie, but they got a lot of good guys there that are willing to prove themselves. Kyle Johnson is the top of the list on that one. Kind of like the same thing as I said about Elijah Murray. Um, Kyle Johnson is a guy that you can put anywhere and he can make a play for you anywhere. Scored a touchdown in 5 different ways last season. He had 12 TDs last year and just only 43 catches. And so if you just give him the ball, he's pretty much going to try to do some big things with it there.
hmm Last question before I turn over to VK Jones. A team that made some tremendous improvements last year got themselves into the playoffs, North Central, the Hurricanes. They were quite honestly terrible for a long time. Seems like they've turned a little bit of a corner. They got a playoff berth last year, got some pieces there. Tell me where the Hurricanes are for you this upcoming season in CenLa.
Now I know they're going to break in a new coach there. I know that's a little bit kind of further south from for us a little bit, but in terms of just trying to see what they can do after Caruth came over and after Caruth left that job, it's going to be interesting to see because now new head coach there. Of course, they got a basketball school, but they still always have athletes no matter what
hmm
happens. So um, I'll be looking at them from a little bit from afar in that case there, but I'm just gonna be interested in see what they do because can they keep the same trajectory as they had the last couple of years? That's the big thing out there, and just trying to get some of those kids to play basketball, trying to get them to also play football as well. Can they do that? That's a good thing.
Lamar, man, appreciate you being on the show and everything. It's good to see you and everything. Gotta ask you this: the one team me and you talked about going into the season with some high expectations and a very, very good running back is the Wampus Caps of Leesville. Can you tell us a little bit about Leesville and you're saying that they're a very deep team, and then on top of that, this might be maybe a potential big run for them. They have not been to the Dome since '95 and Cecil the Diesel Collins.
Yeah, and I know they breed good running backs over there at Leesville, and this one is pretty good too with Xavier Ford. He is the nephew of former LSU guy Michael Ford. So it's crazy that everybody's already they're talking about him in the same breath as Michael Ford and Cecil Collins, and that's great company there if you can do that there. And last season he had over 2,600 yards and ran for 34 touchdowns last year. So what does he do for an encore? That's the big case there. They're breaking in a new quarterback, obviously. They're also going to have to break in, I think, some more receivers there in this case. So again, the offense is going to run through him, but he has shown that he's very capable of doing that. Last year, he ran for at least 101 yards in every single game and had a touchdown in almost an all but one game. And the unfortunate thing was they didn't get a chance to play him in the quarterfinal against Iowa because he had a concussion before the game, well prior to that game. But again, he's still going to be the bell cow running back that they're going to look forward. And as much as he goes, pretty much what Leesville's going to go.
Well, let's talk about your hometown. One of the schools you associate with a lot. That's Peabody, the War Horses. They were a young team last year under Harry Coleman. Now he's going into year number 2. What is the expectations this year for the War Horses? Maybe a potential better year. Actually, after talking with Coach Coleman last year, after they losing to 35, he seemed like there was a bright future for Peabody.
Yeah, they got a big bright future in front of them too. And I think I know last year they were just trying to, see how the new coaching regime was going to be like. But I think this year, now that they see how it's going to be, it's just now trying to move that thing forward. And obviously, they're gonna have to break in another quarterback. Larry Roberts is gonna be the QB out there. He was on the bench last year, but he did get a chance to start a few games. But they do have two great receivers in Terry Hullaby, TJ Hullaby, and also Tavian the Pass. And last year, the pass was hurt for about 5 games. So a lot of the passes were kind of thrown to Hullaby's way, but he really shown that he could be a very good receiver there. But I think both of them as a tandem can really stretch out defenses and can really make things tough for everybody else. I know it's going to be hard for them to probably try to catch Neville, but I think they could probably be somewhere in the middle of that district, battling for it with Franklin Parish and Tioga and also Grant. So I think they have the potential of having a better year.
What are your thoughts on another team in Central that has been really making a come up over the years and trying to break through? That's Holy Savior Menard. What are your thoughts on their expectations this season?
Just gonna have to try to break through a little bit for them. Obviously they have a new head coach in David Perkins, a guy who has been around the team and around the program. He's been a defensive coordinator for them, but it's just gonna have to try to build it pretty much from the ground up in this case. And I think what you do from there at that point is at least have yourself a tough defense that's not gonna give up and that can fly around to the ball there, and then of course a good kicking game. And they have Ryan Hicks. I think is probably one of the better punters, at least in the city that we have here. Very good soccer player and also a very good bowler. Grant once bowled a 300 game, but as far as his punting ability, he's been a very solid punter these last 2 years, and I think he's probably one of the best ones that we have coming back in the area this year. So if he can flip field position and make it hard for some of these other teams, maybe have a longer field and then let it go to the defense there. It's going to be interesting there, but I think they're probably going to be somewhere along in 500 this year.
Actually, one more question. I'm gonna let JB carry on with the questions. Um, Jess Curtis, great job that he did in Manny. Now he is at Natchitoches Central. What are your thoughts on the challenge he has now up in Natchitoches Central? And what are the expectations? What we've been hearing a little bit is looks like the school and the program are starting to buy in a little bit of what Jess Curtis is talking about.
Yeah, that's the definite thing there. I mean, a lot of us were kind of like surprised at first when they let Coach Wilkerson go, and we're thinking, man, after a 6-0 season, a 6-0 start in 2021, but then we didn't know that they had just Curtis coming in the back end there too, and a lot of us were surprised about that as well, and he wanted a new challenge, and I think this is going to be the new challenge that he's going to get there. That Shreveport district, I mean, from the experiences I've known up there, seeing Bird, seeing Shreve, Airline, those teams out there, Parkway, it's a very physical district, but he wants them to be right there with that physicality. Bringing over Joe Cryer, along with the coaching staff there, that's going to be a big thing there. And so it's just, I think little by little, we're going to see what does he expect from this team here? Now, I'm not going to say championship right now in year one, but I do think that they will be more competitive and much better because we've seen from Natchitoches Central, they've been pretty solid. They can hang with those teams, but now it's just getting that in the belief there. And I think it's a new day for them.
You speak of Natchitoches Central. I want to piggyback off of this. And my question is, do you think that the players are already starting to believe in Jess Curtis because he has over 120 players already on the roster, which is kind of unheard of for Natchitoches Central, who's been kind of mediocre for a good little while now.
Right, that's true. And I think they're starting to believe it's the buy-in. I mean, you have a guy that has been a proven winner that is not just only there to that's been giving you like deep playoff runs, but also has the championships to show for it. I think that probably gets that twinkle in the eye a little bit that has players to be like, you know what? If you did it here, I want to be some part of something special over here as well. And it's crazy because, like you said, 120 players. I mean, that's something there. And I know at Manny he brought in 90 every year, so that's also something there as well. So he's had he's at least the buy-in is always there, and there's nothing been wrong with the buy-in. And it's just trying to get everybody involved into that culture. And I think from what I saw from one of the videos this summer, either if it was July or June, they are very energetic. They're very energized. I think they feel like they're ready.
Uh-oh.
He's there. He's there. All right. You spoke of Tioga having a chance to win the district championship. Speak about Tioga a little bit. Give us some information.
Well, Tioga's gonna have to break in another quarterback this season too. Gabe Sellers, he just graduated, so I think the quarterback situation there is going to be between Case Malone and Carson Sellers. And obviously, whichever guy gets that job, they're at least gonna have a guy that's gonna be there for multiple years. I know Malone is a junior, I think, coming up this season, and I know Sellers is coming into his freshman year after being in the junior high program. I know Tioga has definitely has been known to really have these guys to come in from junior high, start them from day one, and so that 4 years down the road they be at least experienced and know what they can do. But I think their strength is going to be wide receiver and defensive back. Josh Lloyd is one of those guys, but Jacorian Norris is another guy that I think that people should watch out for this season. Big-bodied receiver that can really catch it at the highest point, but also a very good safety that can also get some interceptions here and there. And then they also put him in as a kick returner and punt returner every so often, and he can also score touchdowns from there as well. So I think for Tioga, Kevin Cook is always going to have them at a point where they're still going to um, you know, battle very hard. They're going to punch above their weight class. And while I do think that they will be over 500 this season, and they will give some of these teams some games, I feel like.
What about Grant? They're also in the district with Peabody and Tioga. What about Grant?
Yeah, Grant's going to be obviously coming in with a new coach here, and Jarvis Felden. He used to be the defensive coordinator, and I think he's still got some studs around him that he can try to build around. It starts off with Jackson Hedrick, one of our better quarterbacks that we had returning back from the couple of seasons, and he's also has some big game experience. He can throw it, he can run it, and I think that's going to make them dangerous, but also he's got a good defense behind him. Nick Gradney, I think, is one of the better prospects that I think that's probably going to be a raw prospect at this point, where he's 6'5" and 220, 230 pounds, but already Northwestern State has thrown an offer at him. So, I think you can't tease size, and I think that's a guy that's there that's willing to show what he has all about. But then you also got Landon Fradu at linebacker that has made about 75 tackles last season, and they have some good pieces coming back. It's just now once they get into district play, staying consistent there. I think they've been able to do that in their non-district and really beat up on some of those teams that they played against. But now let's see how they do that against non-district. And of course, I think in week 9 they play against Washita Christian, and that's a very good measuring stick right there for playoffs.
George Peppers, you got anything else for Lamar Gafford?
I do, Lamar. One team I didn't mention, and through the plethora of teams we've asked you about, a team that has kind of sort of teased at being that team that would make the proverbial jump, but they've kind of slipped on an egg in the playoffs. Kina, the Giants. Where do you see them this year?
I think they're going to be right there where we've been accustomed to seeing them. Competing for the district, possibly making a good second round or quarterfinal appearance. Um, you got guys like the Jones kid at running back. He's very solid, and they have a good defense around them. Around them, either it's going to be on the offensive line or the defensive line. You always know Gina's going to be very strong over there, and you always know the Jay Rourke's teams are going to practice and play very hard no matter what happens. So I know last season they started off 0-4, but that was due to a hard schedule that really prepared them for the playoffs. And I think this season is probably going to be the same thing. I know they got Leesville, they got Mangum coming up to start off the year, but I think they're still going to be right along in that same category, fighting against Caldwell for the 2-3A championship, but then also giving some of these teams a tough matchup once you get to like the second or third round there.
Wait, VK.
Okay, all right. Taking a look at all the teams in Central Louisiana, we talked about the well-known ones. Give us a team that is like somebody we're not expecting to see that could possibly have a breakout year.
I was talking about it with one of the guys that also helped me out with the website, Alex Newell, and I think Bunky's probably that team that I think is ready to make that leap. Um, I think first off, that district is going to be. I think they got a good shot of possibly getting to third place in that district. Last year they were a win away from making the playoffs, and I think this year they got some pieces coming back. Now they play against Catholic of Point Capay. That's going to be a very good measuring stick right out the gate just to see how can they handle themselves and how good they are. But again, guys like Kyle Johnson and also Zion Lee, who as a freshman last season had um, almost 100 tackles. I think his ceiling is pretty high too. They got some pieces around them that can really make a run this season, and I think I wouldn't be surprised here if they get into the playoffs and maybe win a playoff game there.
Which team in Central Louisiana gives the greatest chance to get to the dome and possibly win it all? Or this could be a year that Central Louisiana might take a seat back. What are your thoughts?
I'm still going to continue to say Manny. Just the talent that they have there. You have still 3 guys that could possibly play Division I football. I'm not going to count them out, even though they do have a new coach and a new voice. I'm not going to count them out at all. I still think that they have a good shot. I think right behind them, I still say Ash is probably with the talent that they have. Can they also kind of sneak up on some of the private school teams and also some of the select teams that we have out there in Division I? So I think that's going to be very interesting to see there. But I think those 2 teams really stand out, and also St. Mary's. I think in Division IV last season they were quarterfinalists and had to face against Harlem Berry and St. Martin. So I think again they got some good players as well with Ben Bienvenu and Ethan Busby. Of course, they're gonna have to break in a new quarterback, but all around, I mean, I think they got some guys here that can really help them out as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they even get back to the quarterfinals and maybe try to push further this year.
Got one last question for you, and I'm gonna let Jared finish it up. Sorry, Jared. Just one more thing. I gotta ask you this, Lamar. Like, between is the geographical kind of makes sense when you have Alexandria and Pineville in the same district as West Monroe, Ruston, and everybody else? Because I'm just trying to look at it on the map. Like, I always wondered why in the world they're in the same district. Is it closer than everybody think it is? Because Alexandria and Pineville is right in the central Louisiana area.
It was crazy because a lot of people, I think the last time we had the redistricting, a lot of the coaches they kept on saying that they would rather go south, like rather go south to like the Lake Charles area, where maybe the Lake Charles teams try to split away from the Lafayette teams, and then you have the 165 rivalry between Alexandria and Lake Charles. I know me and Warren Arsenal would love that so much, but it's still trying to get some of those teams to come up in basically in the Monroe area, and who knows what's going to happen? I guess when they try to redistrict next time around, because obviously now Neville is a Division 1 team, but would they keep everything how it is? And of course, that's going to throw a whole big can of worms when that happens there, and maybe we get that wish to move some of those teams down south. But it's kind of hard whichever way you pull it, because of course you're still going to have to drive hour and a half away. But I think for some of the coaches, they would probably rather go south a little bit more, and not saying that they would not want to compete against the Rustons and compete against the West Monroes, but to probably get a better chance if they have to face against, some of those other teams. Not saying anything bad about the schools down there in Lake Charles, because they could compete as well too, but at least probably give themselves a little bit of a better chance there when it comes about it.
We'll get you out of here on this one. You speak of Manny very highly. Of course, with the talent that they have that's coming back with Tylen Singleton, and you got Jeremiah James at running back. Do you see a team in Division 3 non-select that could be the ultimate challenge for Manny this upcoming season?
Let's see here, because in Division 3, I think you still got those teams like a Meat. You still got those teams like St. James that really gave Manny a good battle. They still got good football over there, and I still think that they still got some continuity, and obviously they still got some good pieces over there too. So if they, at least if you can think that any of those teams can probably knock off Manning, especially with St. James having a chip on their shoulder after losing to Manning last year in the semis, I think that might be a team there. And Meat's always going to be well coached. They're always going to play hard there in that regard as well. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what they all do. I know Union Paris, they're always going to battle hard too, but of course with them losing Trey Holly, now it's going to be very interesting to see what do they do now after losing that bell cow there, and a very productive guy as well. But I think those teams in the South, man, they got a shot, man. They got a shot.
Lamar Gafford, our good friend from CenLa Preps. We appreciate you and thank you for joining us, man. We truly appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one, and hey, let's do this again once we get down to the dome.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's a plan. That's happening. Yes, sir. Lamar Gafford, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Lamar Gafford gave us some in-depth stuff to these Central Louisiana teams, and me and George talked about it. George really doesn't see Manny getting back without Jess Curtis. I see it happening due to the amount of talent they got coming back. Yes, Tackett is gone, but man, you still got Tyler Singleton. You got Jeremiah Gray. It's a team full of talent. I just don't know if there's a team that can knock Manny off this horse this season. I think they'll be challenged by some, but I don't know if it happens. GP, what you think?
Listen, you know where I stand on the Tigers. One of the teams that has benefited the most since we've gone the way of the split was Manny. They have won, what is it, three championships or
Three. I
four?
think it's three.
Been to like five, I think, or six. That being said, Jess is gone. I get the new voice. It's going to take time. Tackett Curtis is going to be missed more than anybody thinks. That dude was such an impact dude. We saw that dude firsthand in the Superdome last year against Union Parish. Dude made an impact offensively and defensively. Remember when they ran him a few times? He just absolutely mangled Union Parish. And that's a physical football team, man. That's a physical football team, Union Parish. This Manny has got the talent. You're right, Tylen Singleton. They've got the base of talent there. I'm curious to see what happens after this year with them. If they're able to maintain that level after this year, because let's say this year they slide back to what, a quarterfinal knockout. That's unheard of at Manny. That's blasphemous, right?
Right.
So many times they've been to the semis, the dome, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If they go out right at quarterfinals, it could be a little bit of a troubling sign. And I'm not, well, listen, let me say this. I'm not trying to wish ill will. I have no bone to pick with that group, and whatnot. I don't have anything in that. My analysis is based on what I know from Jess Curtis and what he has done for that program. He has done a ton. They will one day put a statue to that dude, or maybe name the stadium after that man. I would imagine that they will, but that's in the future, obviously. Um, Jared, look, I'd love to share your optimism, dog, but I feel like Manny's in a little bit of could be one of those teams that goes out faster than some people think. Just because the challenge is in D3. I mean, Union Parish didn't really give him anything in the Superdome, but when you look at teams like, I believe isn't St. James on D3?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. You might want to look at those guys too in Vastry. Those dudes have serious potential in their mind. And I know we're going to talk with Chris Singleton tomorrow night. And that's a group, that's going to be one of the teams we're going to mention. Look at that. Shameless plug, baby. There you go. Gotta love it. But VK, when you look at many, I'm not feeling that vibe from them this year. I feel like this is a team that's going to take a slight step back. Not no crazy fall, but I think they do slide back just a touch.
Well, I can agree with you on that, George. I can agree with you. I think Manny they're gonna be strong, but I think the furthest they go, they defend their title. They might get to maybe the quarters or the semifinals. But I see three teams that can knock them off.
Name them.
St. James. St. James
One.
returning multiple starters. Elite.
Tons.
They return
Okay.
multiple starters. And the one
Okay.
other team that I know that's probably going to make it, and I think this is their breakout year. Lake
Bogalusa?
Charles College Prep.
Lake Charles College Prep is in select. They're not in non-select. They're in select.
They're not in the non-select, VK.
They're not in non-select. Okay. They're
All right, stand back on that one.
My bad. I thought it was in.
No, you good. No, you good. You're way good.
Select. I thought
it's okay. Look,
I forgot.
I get the confusion because there's a ton of teams. I get it.
Right. Because
but I'm with you on the other two.
Because you know what I was thinking? I was thinking they might have been like Madison Prep, who is in the non-selects themselves. So that's what I was thinking.
Madison Prep is in select.
Division two.
Select.
Division 2? Okay.
Yeah, they're in D2. They're with Shaw, Lafayette, Christian, and all them.
It's hard to know who's where. It is. It's all good, VK. It's hard to know who's wearing that because
you way good, man. It's good.
Was in non-select last year until I saw they was in select Division 3. So it's like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So my thoughts of that Division 3 state championship previews went out the window. But still, those are two teams that will meet in week 6 that will probably maybe both be in the dome in the first place.
Yeah.
We might see that. Jared, I got one prediction to make to both of y'all, and y'all gonna think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But let's okay. I mean, not literally. I'm not one of those, not that way, but remember when Jess took the job at Natchitoches Central?
Yes.
A couple of weeks after he took that job, he started sniffing around. He did the Scooby-Doo and sniffed around Ouachita Parish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, he did.
Quite honestly, a better program.
Correct.
And more fundamentally sound program. Ouachita have the results delivered? No. But they needed, I think.
No, you mean West Monroe.
If he's.
West Monroe.
Huh?
West Monroe.
Right. Was it West Monroe?
Yeah, West
I thought it was Ouachita.
Yes, West Monroe.
Okay. Yeah, because Jerry Arledge had just left.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, I stand corrected. What that tells me, I'm reading signs, guys. I don't think Jess is in it for the long haul at Naked Essential. If he's sniffing around before he coaches a game, that man ain't staying at Naked Essential. The next plum job that opens, AE, Evangel, Cavalry, teams like that, maybe Ash. Who knows? Jess is,
Let-
I'm telling you guys, he's not in it for the long haul at Naked Essential. If he's sniffing around, gentlemen, I'm going to predict that this is his own one and only year. And I don't know when Naked Essential is going to be. They're better. They're going to probably make the playoffs, maybe win a game or so, but I don't think they have the temerity to go a long way. And I think Jess is going to sniff around again, and somebody's going to catch him.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this. I mean, I would say West Monroe would pay more money than Natchitoches Central, and so can't blame the guy for not for applying, and trying to get the job. I can't blame him. I mean, even David Brewerton, he applied for the job at West Monroe, but some
Yep,
people think that was a leverage move to get more money from Zachary. But
correct.
I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, something big might open up and he might apply again. It's just the way of the sports world these days. It is what it is. So we'll see. I would like to see him get Natchitoches Central back up and running. I would like to see that. If he go to that school and get them to where they're relevant and people are talking about them and they're in the playoffs
Mhm.
for the next 3 years, hey, you gotta tip your hat to where the credit is due for what he might do at Natchitoches Central. VK.
If Jeff Curtis can get Natchitoches Central deep in the playoffs and still stay there and eventually get them in the dome or get them a championship, this is going to be a breath of fresh air. This is going to be the second renaissance at Natchitoches Central, just like Michael Coleman came to that basketball program and
Yep.
how they got them multiple championships. So I tell you one thing, man. Natchitoches Central know what they're doing. I wouldn't be surprised what Jess Curtis does, but at the same time, it's going to depend what happened in this first year. If he can take them deep in the playoffs, you make a good point, George. But I'm like this: if they're more successful than they are in year one, I don't know why Jess Curtis will leave something he's just starting. That's
Okay.
that's what I
Well,
don't.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
But
Can I answer
Yes,
this,
sir.
Darren?
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Okay. One thing I will never do in the years that I've done sports talk, it's 17 years this year. I will never I mean, completely outright dismember a member of any fraternity, coaching or players. You're not going to hear me badmouth Jess Curtis, but I can tell you from experience covering that school when they were in Division 3-2A, District 3-2A. Excuse me. Here I am
Manny,
talking. I'm
right?
thinking college football.
Manny, right?
Yeah, they were in there with Bunky and Avoyles and teams like that. Well, actually, Bunky and Marksville. And they played them every year, and I got to see them, and I got to actually talk to him. He's not the most approachable guy. This is a guy that he's got this stick the chest out kind of mentality. Like he's better than everybody else, and I'm like, man, stay humble. You've had all this success. You should thank the LHSA and God that you've had this success. That and Manny's nowhere near any of this prominence if we don't have a split. Let me just be honest. Jess is a great coach. Great coach. There's no question in my mind. He is an absolutely terrific football coach and can attract top level talent to wherever he goes. My reasoning for the Naked Essential thing, because it's not prime time. It's not a big enough program. He went now Naked Essential is playing at the top, excuse me, at the top level in 5A. And I believe they're non-select Naked Essential.
Yeah.
non-select.
I don't have they are non-select.
Yes.
I think the most optimum result you're going to get from that group. I think if they get to Thanksgiving week, meaning the quarterfinals, it's a win for them. What does that mean in relation to him looking? VK, I keep saying this. He sniffed around before he coached a game there. Now, if he does get to a semifinal, he might stick it out. But I'm telling you, if there's a big job that opens up, bigger than Naked Central, he's putting his name in the hat, and it would not surprise me if said school hires him.
Let me ask you.
That's
Let me ask George a question, then I'll let VK go, and then we'll end it.
uh,
What do you think? 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 You say you don't think if there was no split, you don't think Manny would have won a championship. So let me just ask you this: if we put
All right.
Manny and St. Charles Catholic up, the two teams that won Division III, you telling me you think
Right.
St. Charles Catholic would have beat Manny? I don't think so.
With you don't
No.
see the thing. Okay, here. All right. Let me counter that.
Okay.
St. Charles Catholic. All right. And I'm not slandering many. I am not in any way intentionally trying to slander. My analysis is equal and unbiased. Y'all know. The reasoning I'm gonna give you with St. Charles is quite simple. That group has manifested a superb defense for years. The thing many has on them is size. They have size. They would be bigger in the trenches. So I kind of see where you're going. You push a smaller team around. Oops. And St. Charles is going to may have issue. They are just so fundamentally sound. I think they could be look if they could beat a Lafayette Christian, but Lafayette Christian doesn't have the size that many does. They beat Lafayette Christian on the square, but they when they run into teams that are bigger, I get your point. It would be a much, much tougher ask. Nothing against Wayne Stein, but it's not. In the end, look, the speech that week would be what? It's not the size of the dog; it's the size of the fighting the dog.
Yeah.
Well, he'd have to practice that a lot because they're growing pretty big out there. They do. I've seen it for myself. Those dudes that the trenches they average in the 270s, 280s, that's the offensive line.
Yep.
That's not small. 280 in high school.
That's pretty big.
There's some big boys
Oh
out
yeah.
there.
Go ahead, VK, and then we'll end this show.
Now I'm gonna say this. Will St. Charles, and I'm gonna say this. It would be a hell of a game with St. Charles against. It would be a hell of a game.
I agree.
And I think,
Tactically,
and to be
absolutely.
honest with you, I think St. Charles would win it because you have to think the year.
Oh,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm
right.
on the field. I'm on the field watching this. St. Charles had some nice little size that season going against Lafayette Christian. Now I'm gonna say this, man, it would have been a little bit bigger, but if St. Charles make them plays, especially on special teams, they would come up with the win. It would be a great ball game, and I tell you, it wouldn't be no runaway. If Manning win, they'll have to earn their lunch against St. Charles Catholic. Now, going into what George was saying, and I definitely get it. But if I'm Natchitoches Central and their administration and everything else, if everything goes well in year number 1, you better go all out for Jess Curtis. You better go all out. Throw everything at it and be like, hey, we know you success. We know you're a good coach. We love you. We respect you. Everything. But throw everything in. Prove that you care enough that we want you as our guy. We don't care what anybody say. We know that the other schools gonna come at you. We know they're coming, but at the same time, we see a great future here at Natchitoches Central for you. So I know they rolled out the red carpet, but if things start to get successful for Natchitoches Central, the administration and the letter department and something, you better do more than that to keep Jess Curtis. Telling you now.
Well, we want to thank everybody who tuned in today. I want to give an apology. We had some technical difficulties getting into YouTube. So we're going to go on YouTube at around 9:15. Not YouTube, excuse me. Technical difficulties for Instagram. We're going to go on Instagram at around 9:15. We owe it to those people who are waiting. We owe it to them. We're going to go on Instagram at 9:15. And we're going to do a second special show for about 30 minutes. Talk about Lafayette football and Central Louisiana football. We owe it to them. Just about 30 minutes on Instagram on the Hash It Out Show Instagram page. We want to thank Lamar Gafford for joining us. Tomorrow, he's going to talk about the Bayou areas, Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. Mary, Assumption parishes. That's going to be Chris Singleton. He will be with us tomorrow. For my co-hosts VK Jones and George Peppers, I'm JB, your sports guy. We'll see y'all on Instagram in a little bit, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Y'all take care.